Here we have a curious customer, the Virginian bearded bird in his natural habitat, removing ollie stickers from some sprinkles of some sort. We will see how nature provides for the curious customer. Anyway, guys, no, seriously, it's me and Matt here. I know you thought it was a nature documentary about Matt, but what we're actually here to talk about here are heat sealers. Now, this is probably one of my favorite prep tools. Matt, how you doing tonight?
Pretty good.
Okay. So I want to make a little video about this and show you guys some really cool tricks with this. Now, these are a little bit expensive. This is an 18-inch model, about $100. Buy them off Amazon, eBay. They're really all the same. And my complete setup, Matt's using my heat gun here to take some ollie stickers off. So you need a heat gun, you need a heat sealer, okay, an impulse sealer. This is a 500 millimeter one, so that comes out to, no one knows, like 16 inches actually, so it might not be an 18-inch one. And you're going to need shrink tubing here. So this is centerfold heat tubing. So what that means is there is a an open side, okay? One side is open, one side is closed. I'm going to rotate this around. Now, Matt complimented this before. This is actually just a clothing rack that I got from IKEA. And we also have, usually we keep bubble wrap on it. Now, because I am the worst kind of person, I am neither right-handed nor left-handed. You know how there's some people that are ambidextrous and they're both? I'm neither. It's awful.
That is awful.
I'm terribly uncoordinated. But what I did want to show is that actually not only can you use these heat sealers, I'm going to get the bubble wrap out of here in a second, not only can you use the heat sealers to cut bubble or shrink wrap, you can also use them to make custom bubble bags. That's actually a nice little bubble bag, okay? And you can seal up all sorts of stuff in that, okay?
Makes custom sized bubble bags.
Yeah, it's a really cool thing. Not a lot of people know about that. So make custom bubble bags. So I'm going to now get my bubble wrap out of here. And what we actually do with this IKEA thing is we keep one of the screws as a little piece of threaded rod. Okay, so I'm actually able to lift it right up and out.
I guess, like you said, he's not coordinated.
Not coordinated at all. Okay, so bubble wrap out of the way. Good. So yeah. Okay, sorry. Now,
I was just going to say.
No. So I'm going to pause the filming there and like stop with that because I want to make sure it was still going. So now go on to the next step.
All right, now we're going to be doing some poly bagging.
Well, let's start, with some poly bags. I got a 9x6 poly bag right there.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to show off a couple little capabilities of this heat sealer. Now, this is a pretty standard, got from I Love Supplies. We all know it. Okay, we don't need to get biblical with it. Now, here's one of the cool things about a heat sealer, and I want to begin this with a warning. Poly bags, you got to look up what a poly bag is made out of. I don't actually know what the poly bags from I Love Supplies are made out of, but it will say. So if they're PVC, don't do this unless you have a lot of ventilation or you're in a giant room, or both. So I should have a fan going right now or a hood or something because PVC fumes are bad. But look at this, we got this little pack of Q-tips. Now let's say I was going to sell this. Normally I would take this, I'd put it down my 9x6 poly bag and I'd fold it over, take the strip off, and I got it. Now this is not particularly expensive. These are like 4 cents when you buy them by the 1,000, okay? But I can actually get 2 uses out of this, okay? With just using a heat sealer. Okay, just like that, okay? And this is the cool thing. I mean, this is a really nice edge on this poly bag. This would be more than Amazon acceptable. Now, you're supposed to not have more than 2 inches stick off of overhang. That's a little bit less, but it doesn't cost anything to just seal it again. And I actually sealed it a little bit too close, so that was not a good thing there. But that's okay.
It will take a couple times practice to learn where you can place it. But once you get it, it will actually save you lots of money.
Yes. So now look at this. I just resealed this again. So I got 2 uses out of 1 poly bag. I mean, it probably seems a little bit ridiculous, but it is 4 cents. And if I can get 2 uses out of it, that halves my prep cost, except for my time. Now, the time on this is pretty quick when you really look at it. I was very hesitant to get one of these because I thought it was slow, but I was very wrong about that. So that's actually, before we even show the shrink wrap, you can use this with poly bags, and you can use it with bubble wrap and get really good results out of it.
What I really like to point out here is we were able to use this poly bag twice. But there are some poly bags where you can use it 3, 4, 5, and 6 times depending on the size of the item. What makes it nice is if you have a limited budget and you can only afford one size poly bag, you get a larger poly bag with this, and you can scale it down to many different sizes, and that helps also save room for when you're prepping.
Now, I used to use a floor stand heat sealer, so it was the same as this, but you used a foot to actuate it, and actually that's how I almost always, for years, sealed my bra poly bags. It was just nice to have it on the desk. I didn't have to have a tape dispenser. I would just stick it in there, put my foot down on it, and it would seal it, and that was it. So this is a pretty nice thing. Now, how about you hand me that Paw Patrol there?
Paw Patrol.
Yeah, so this is an example of a product that has been properly heat sealed, okay? Now, you technically don't have to put a suffocation warning on it because it's not a poly bag, but I still do.
And it doesn't have an opening.
It doesn't have an opening, but I will unseal this, but this was so nicely done. I did not do it, by the way. I will give a shout out to Kate if she watches this. So let me show you guys how this process works. So firstly, you want your roll to be under, and oh, I could have just rotated around my cart here.
Anyway,
I've been working for a while today.
It's been a long day.
Okay, so what you want to do, this is why we use the centerfold, okay? Let's get this out of the way, man.
I got you.
Okay, is the centerfold has a factory sealed edge, it comes that way, okay? And it's pointed towards the camera right now, and it has an open edge. Now, it does also come with a closed side, but you start using it and that closed side gets cut off, or gets sealed off. Now, I'm gonna straighten up my tube here.
Give me a little bit more than that.
No, I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Now, the machine itself, what you do is you close it down and you wait for a click, okay? You probably cannot hear it, but once you're done with that, this is fiberglass up here. There's like a little element under there. It's pretty much cool to the touch, okay? It doesn't get very hot. And the top part of it's silicone and it's like spring-loaded. It's actually a pretty cool piece of equipment. Now that little scrap we cut off, we're going to come back to that because that's a pretty cool feature here. So what we do here is we put it in the poly tube, okay, and we want to kind of square it up as best we can. That's pretty good, and we seal it. Okay, now we come over here and we seal it again. Now, some cutters or some sealers do come with cutters. I don't like them. I think it's an unnecessary extra step. And when we're doing this poly bagging, we want it, or this poly tubing, we kind of want to get it as close to the item as possible. Okay, and that'll just make the next step a lot cleaner. Now, Matt is going to show us how to really do this. Now, let me show you guys. This is what this looks like. This really would probably be acceptable for Amazon.
That would be acceptable for Amazon.
But let's make it look real nice.
Let's make it look professional.
pretty good. Pretty good for kind of, no, you actually use this, I forgot that. So now it looks really nice. Now, there's a couple things here. My warehouse is very cold right now. This stuff would work way better if it was a bit warmer. It's about 45 degrees in here, about as cold as a refrigerator. Sorry, Matt.
It is what it is.
Okay, but that would make this work faster. Do not use a hairdryer on this. A lot of people are like, oh, use a hairdryer. It takes so long. This heater is 10 bucks, okay? It's a 300 watt hobby air gun. They're about $10 to $15, and they're disposable. I have like 5 of them. I think you can buy bundles of them actually.
A couple things to know. Unlike a hairdryer, this thing it puts out extreme heat very quickly, and if you hold it too close or too long on a spot, especially on things like sugar,
it will, yeah,
it will melt the sugar. It will melt the plastic.
Yeah, but even with this, I was gonna try to burn through it. It's not burning as easily as I thought it was going to.
Because the shrink wrap is designed to melt.
Yeah, it stretches, and I just got a couple holes in this. And if that happens, honestly, I just send it in. If it's just like, these are about the diameter, they're about 6 millimeters in diameter, nobody cares.
Also with this, when you're done using it, make sure you set it down properly.
And unplug it.
And unplug it, or else it could cause a fire. These are can be very dangerous.
Also, don't run it off of an extension cord, unlike what we are doing right now. We had to move our setup here. So, let's do a book. Okay, this is, I think, what really makes this look really good. The Russell Bronson book. Yeah, man. Expert secrets. I'm an expert, and he gives me my secrets. So here's the thing. You technically don't have to polybag books, okay? But this book, I mean, this has been in my backpack for a while. I actually always carry this book with me. And it looks a little rough, so I mean, this would be like an acceptable book. And I mean, if you're sending in an expensive, like, college textbook, look how nice this is gonna look.
Yeah, think about presentation. The more professional you come off, the better of a review you can get, the better off you are in the long run.
And also, how many times have you looked on Amazon or gotten a review, like especially if you sell books, where it's like, you know, pages were dog-eared, and you're like, no, when I sent that in, it was good. Okay? So this is how you make sure it stays good. Nothing's going to happen to this book. Usually with a book, I just go around the edges first. Okay? And then just a quick once-over on the top.
You want to hit all sides of it because that's how you make sure it shrinks properly to the book.
Yep, it looks beautiful. This would be great for like a video game, anything like that. And you're not going to get, you know, water damage. This is airtight, watertight. So, you know, like if it gets thrown on somebody's front porch in the rain or something like that, not going to get damaged, which is very nice. And
just think, this gets thrown in a bubble mailer that gets thrown in a puddle. Now it's got water protection, so yeah, the bubble mailer may be ruined, but your product did not get ruined, and you're not going to get a return.
This is cheap insurance. So let's do the Starbucks cup too. This is a cool thing. So again, you know, poly bag for this would be kind of expensive, but we do have to poly bag this. I really would bubble wrap this also, but
yeah, on something like this, I would definitely throw a bubble bag on it, heat seal the bubble bag, and then I'd put a poly bag over top of it. If you're gonna ask why you're gonna do both, presentation, security, extra protection. There's lots of reasons. It doesn't take you too long to do that.
yeah, and again, you know, if you get this done and you do like 10 of these cups all at once, it'll go a lot faster than this one-off stuff. Okay, this is the slowest possible way to use it, and it's still pretty quick.
So you get them all, you get 10 of them wrapped up together, and then you just take the heat gun and just go over all 10 of them at the same time.
So let me show you guys really the coolest thing about this heat sealer. So Matt, when we first saw him, was prepping these, what are these, sprinkles? Okay, and we got 6 of them. Let's line these all up. And I'll show you guys how cool this is. Now, this is where this really saves you money. And I do a ton of grocery. There's a ton of little things like this if you're doing grocery that you're gonna do. So the first step here is we take the poly bag, or the poly tube, and we put one in there, we snug it up onto the blade, and we seal it. Okay, nice and tight. Then we cut this off. I may have gone crooked on this. Okay, so now we got that one. Matt, why don't you start heat sealing that? I fucked this up. Turn that off so they can hear me. Okay, I messed it up. I cut it crooked. The thing you really want to avoid is cutting your poly wrap crooked. And I'm usually pretty good about it. So one of the tricks to not cutting it crooked, by the way, is to put lines down on your table. Okay? So you put horizontal lines, and then you line up the bubble wrap with the horizontal line, and then you never get it crooked. I'm not doing this on my normal station for this, doing this like on my YouTube station here.
And just, we're going to talk about these scraps that he's doing in a minute, so there's ways to minimize the waste.
Yeah. Okay, so that should be more than enough. And you know, you can cut this about 25% too big. Ah, that'll be perfect. Now, that's what this looks like, okay? Now, there you go, Matt.
Do 2 together.
Do 2 together?
Yeah.
Okay, so Matt brought up a good point, which was to do 2 together. If you're going to do bundles, multi-packs, anything like that, these are a huge time and money saver. Okay, this is a very nice professional looking package, and it basically doesn't cost anything. These tubes, so I just checked, this tubing is 80 bucks or so a tube on the Boxery. They have sales all the time on it. I use the light gauge, so this is 60 gauge. The 75 gauge might be a little bit better for you if you're, it can be a little finicky when it's the thin stuff. I prefer the 75, but it's expensive. So I use the 60 gauge. It is like 4,400 feet for around like 80 bucks. So it comes out to like less than 5 cents a foot. I forget how it works. It's like half a cent per foot or something dumb like that. It's really stupidly cheap.
Yeah. Just real quick, before anyone asks, you don't have to poly seal just an individual bottle of sprinkles, as long as it's got a seal on it.
Yeah.
But we were doing this mostly for demonstration purposes.
Yeah. Now let me show you guys something else really cool. Can you hand me that slice of cardboard?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, sometimes you got to send something into Amazon. It's a little bit of a weird shape, okay? So I am using a little piece of scrap cardboard from the last shipment that me and Matt made. I would recommend using a virgin piece of cardboard, or at least a piece of cardboard that looks clean. But look at this. My Boy Scout master would be so mad at me.
He would flip a shit.
You know Dan Earls is an Eagle Scout?
Yes.
Okay, so here is a little piece of cardboard. I'm gonna put my knife and I'm gonna poly seal my knife. Open. This will be cool looking. Okay, so we pull this down.
Now this works really good with products that are meant for display. Don't have an outside packaging. Like if you were to have a pocket watch that you're sending in,
Yeah, that could be a cool, good one.
it would be a good way to send it in like this. And then I would put an extra layer of bubble wrap, of course, on the outside. But as a presentation piece, this would be great.
You'll notice while I'm doing this, I often shake the heat gun. That is to distribute the heat and not get a hot spot.
Yes. You don't want to leave the heat gun anywhere too long because it will melt through eventually.
Yeah, and you will get a feel for it.
Beautiful.
Beautiful, not gonna go anywhere. Okay, so this is actually, I've done this before with like fishing lures and stuff like that, where it was like a large flat kind of floppy piece. So what we're gonna do, so here's the thing, this comes really handy with really small stuff where like you get more out of poly bags or really big stuff. But let's first, since we are on the grocery topic, let's talk about the caps. Okay, so we got this alcohol.
That's one cap.
Yeah, so when you send in grocery, typically you want to have 2 seals.
That would have 2 seals, but this seal is open.
Yeah, so typically you want 2 seals when you send something in a glass container or plastic container. So this alcohol,
I always recommend 3 seals just to be on the safe side.
yes. Now this would have 1 seal because it's got the foil, or in this case plastic protection thing. Then it does have the lid. Okay, that's step number 2. So really this is probably good enough for Amazon, of course, if it wasn't already sealed or opened, but we're gonna make it even better.
So remember that scrap piece of plastic we had? These, you keep them around because they work really well. You want to cut that down in about half.
Works really, really well to just do a nice little cap to keep your lid. Oh.
You got to hold it for a second, but yeah. So this works really well on shampoo bottles. It's more professional than putting a piece of tape on the end of it.
And that will not open up. It's all nice and sealed up. Okay, it's way more professional than that. And another thing, a lot of times with shampoo bottles, what I like to do is I put, like if it's got the pump, is I'll put bubble wrap over the pump, and then I'll put a poly bag tube over, or a poly seal tube over it. Yep. And that's all the prep you gotta do. And it works really well. Let's say I was gonna sell a pickle jar, okay? What do we got here for scrap? We got that. Oh, that'll be perfect. Yep. Okay. So
basically what I would recommend is I have a little box that I would throw these things in and just use them throughout whenever I'm prepping. You never know what you're going to need them for.
Okay, so I just sealed that up, put that around. I'm going to make a little bubble or a little sealing ring for it. Now there are commercial products out there. We do frequently, when I do client prep, use the commercial product, but the reason that I'm showing this is just, this is like, anybody can do this. Like this is, you don't need a million different sizes.
Right.
And you see how this is on just like that, okay? On my pickles. Now, of course, with pickles, I would bubble wrap it, but this is the start of the prep because I will still do this even if I'm gonna box and bag something just to make sure it's good.
Remember, when you're sending your products in, more is always the answer to the question.
Yes.
And now, the least you can do is always add an extra step.
Yep. Now this is kind of sealing weird because I grabbed this jar out of the refrigerator. Don't try to heat seal refrigerated items. Okay, but this is on here and this seal would be pretty good. It's not coming off.
It's also cold in here, so
it looks a little weird, but it would look better if it was room temperature. Okay, so
let me see if I can.
And Matt's getting it a little bit better. Oh, that looks way better.
All right, so
there we go.
There we go.
That looks very nice and professional. Then that would help keep that closed. So why don't you hand me this Nerf gun? This is going to be the last thing we demo here. Let's get these out of the way. What just fell?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. We're good.
Yep.
So actually, let's show the sealed one first.
Okay.
Okay, so I just sealed this up. Now, the poly bag, I actually looked this up. You looked it up. I actually measured this. Do you know how expensive the poly bag off Uline would be for this?
No.
$1.25.
Okay. For this one bag.
100 unit minimum. Yep. So I bought, I don't know, like a dozen of these. I don't want to spend $125 to poly bag 12 things.
Right.
And then have the poly bags in my way. What a pain in the ass.
Also, that's a lot of money to add into your prep.
Yes. Okay, it would really quickly cut into that profit. So what I'm going to do here is I got this one, okay, and this would have to be polybagged according to Amazon. Now, in the past, I would have shrink wrapped this. That would be a pain in the butt. So I'm going to do polybag or do this poly tube. So now the first thing you'll probably notice is that this is bigger than my poly tube. Okay, but that's not going to be a problem. I'll show you guys how.
And we're gonna show you exactly how he does it.
Okay, got that nice in there, got everything nice and lined up. Awesome. Seal it on that side. Okay, so now we got this nice and sealed. Looks good. Of course, half of it is now hanging out of the poly bag. We can get that off our heated surface. Now, if I was to do a bunch of these, I would actually take the one I just did off and measure it and just cut them all at once, by the way. Okay, that's the easiest way to do it. But we're just kind of demoing this. Perfect. Now, we seal them together just like this. Actually have a little overage down here that we could cut off. So I'm going to. Perfect. And now, Matt, can I have the tape dispenser?
No.
That'll be perfect. Thank you. Can I have some more tape? So I'm going to put tape all the way around this to create a good seal on it. Okay. I'm going to need another piece. Now, according to Amazon, I got 2 inches that I can overhang the product. Okay. So that's okay. This actually probably would be good enough. Now I'm going to cut this corner off here just to kind of make it a little bit more snug. But Matt, work your magic. This is where you would want to have like probably a larger heat gun, like a paint removal heat gun. Which we actually have. I don't like to use them because they get so hot. And I have very dry hands, so it'll mess up your hands real quick.
I used to use one on my boots back when I had to shine them.
Yeah, I did that too when I was in ROTC. Now, we do have a little hole in the seam where I probably got a little bit too tight. And again, this heating step on this product in particular is really kind of overkill. You really don't need to do this, but it just does make it look nice.
I mean, when you were getting something in the mail that you ordered, paid $50 on, wouldn't you want it to look pretty nice?
Yeah, and also another thing, and I think, oh, Martin just has a taping machine, and we were talking about heat machines. You can buy a machine that will automatically heat it.
Martin has a heat tunnel.
Oh, he does now.
Yeah, he just got it in. A heat tunnel is nice too, because you can just, once you get it all, this heat seal around it, then you just put it through the heat tunnel and it takes care of it quickly.
And I just put a little tape over that where that got messed up. So that's it. I mean, and this saved me $1.25 for the right size poly
Yeah,
bag.
you probably paid what, 8 cents for that now?
I don't even think that. This stuff's so cheap, okay? So guys, I just wanted to show you some really cool uses for a heat sealer, for the heat shrink wrap. There's different varieties of this out there. The one that I use is from the Boxery. I bought this off Amazon. I buy those off Amazon. It's pretty basic, and I really like it. And if you're going to be doing bundling and groceries and stuff like that, this thing is a huge time saver and a huge money saver. When you start getting really good with this, you can go through stuff so fast. It's crazy how fast you can go.
Yep, we'll have links under the video for these products.
Yep, we'll have links to all of these showing exactly what we used in the video. This setup does cost a couple $100s, but basically you'll never have to buy poly bags, except for, like, poly bags are really good for convenience, like on bras and stuff. This is not good for bras, other than using the heat sealer to close the poly bag.
Yep. And I use the heat sealer to close poly bags at my place all the time.
Yeah. So listen, oh, and also it's really great to use a heat sealer if you have leftovers. I have poly bagged and heat sealed many a slice of pizza. So anyway, guys, thank you so much.
I would check the hazardness on that.
Probably. So listen, Matt, thank you so much for doing this with me. He's my guest star today. And yeah,
And pretty much almost all the time.
and almost all this time.
Yeah.
My understudy. So thank you.